Hello. I am psyched that you have chosen Othello, our main man, to write your paper on. And the first thing that I'm going to ask you to think about as you prepare to write your essay is how dynamic or static you feel Othello is. Does he change? Is he a dynamic character or is he more the same? I think many folks have been arguing, at least in the original like flip grids and stuff you've been sharing with me, that Othello is dynamic, that he's not the same man at the end of the play that he was at the beginning. And so he changes. So, what is the cause of that change? That's going to be your mission to kind of figure out. What is his tragic flaw? What is his main weakness? That will be the trait that will transition you from whatever word you're going to use to describe Act One Othello, the man who's calm and reasonable and honorable and brave and noble and respected and all of those things. Pick any of those words. How does he become what some have labeled a monster, ruthless, violent, irrational, paranoid by the end of the play? And so, what is that hinge pin? For many time-honored critics, of course, it's jealousy. Insecurity, born of jealousy, insecurity could be it, jealousy could be it, but it is that trait in him that takes him from an otherwise noble hero to become our tragic hero at the end of this play. So if you're going to argue the three traits, maybe you're going to have four, I don't know. It would be something like Shakespeare characterizes Othello initially as heroic and honorable. However, once Othello gives in to his jealous side, he becomes ultimately violent or wrathful or irrational. You're going to have to pick your words there. And then the real trick, that's the what thesis, right? That's the what part of your thesis, the three traits. So straight up character analysis, something you did in 10th grade, 11th grade, okay? The so what is where you have so much potential with Othello. You can work as far as Othello, what lesson does he teach through Othello? He being Shakespeare. What warning does he issue through the character of Othello? Maybe it's something as simple as bad things happen when we give in to our insecurities. Or the play suggests that no one is beyond falling from grace, even the most heroic among us. I mean, there's some like kind of more general ideas that you could, sorry about the pun. There are more general ideas that you could use for Othello. The other way you can obviously go is to consider Othello as a statement on race by Shakespeare. And there are a few schools of thought here. One is Shakespeare is a racist, and his depiction of Othello is a racist depiction in that any power that he gives Othello initially is taken away. His physical power with epilepsy, his emotional power, his rationality, all stripped of him to suggest to Shakespeare's audience, yeah, this is what happens when an African outstretches where he should be in society, right? Bad things happen. Racist view on Shakespeare's part. You could go with that argument. Another could be, depending on how sorry you feel for Othello at the end, if he redeems himself by saying, don't exaggerate my good qualities. I really screwed up. I'm really regretful. Like he says all these things at the end that are important. If you feel he kind of redeems himself at the end and we feel sorry for him because he was such a victim of Iago, then you might feel that Shakespeare is challenging some of the racist attitudes of his time by exposing them and then also by showing Othello to be an honorable person, ultimately, despite, quote unquote, despite being African. Another way to read it is kind of in the middle, that in some ways Shakespeare's depiction of Othello suggests challenging some of the racist attitudes of his time, but ultimately maybe Shakespeare falls short of fully issuing a challenge to the racist attitudes of his time through the characterization of Othello. There are many ways you could go with that. So you need to have a statement ultimately, in terms of thesis, that's going to say throughout the course of the play, something like Othello transforms from initially heroic to insecure and ultimately irrational. Through his characterization of Othello, Shakespeare suggests or Shakespeare challenges the racist attitudes of the day by drawing on the viewer's sympathy for Othello and showing just how unfair his treatment is in a racist society, something like that. I mean, you're going to have to work out the language. The other piece, of course, is you're going to need to make sure that you organize your essay, kind of organize it in the sequence of the play. So first body paragraph would show the better sides of Othello early on in the play, then his transformation once he gives in to jealousy, and then finally the ending, where he becomes very violent. He's able, even though he's hating every minute of it, he takes his hands and strangles Desdemona. I mean, that's pretty awful. And at the very end, he's very regretful when he finds out that Iago has played him the entire time. However, it doesn't change or let him off the hook, and he himself doesn't let himself off the hook once he realizes his responsibility. So think about those things. Make sure you're working on that planning document. And I'm going to do my best to try to take a look at your thesis statement in terms of the language, give you some ideas or some feedback. And good luck. It's a great topic that you've chosen. Good luck.